Welcome to the last part of lecture 11 on matrix operations. So we've defined our operations, and now what we want to do is just look at some of the properties that these operations have. So the following theorem lists a whole number of facts about how sum, scalars, and multiplication, these three operations on matrices, how they interact. And so I'll quickly kind of run through the theorem. So we have A, B, and C be appropriately sized matrices. So that just means that the matrices, if we want to add them together, they have the right size. If they're being multiplied, we're assuming that they all have the correct size in order for them to be multiplied together. And we have three real numbers, A, B, and C. Well, the first property that we have is that the order in which you add them together doesn't matter. So here we say, there's actually a name for this. We say that the addition commutes. So the order in which you add doesn't matter. The second property says A plus B, and then the quantity B plus C is the same thing as A plus B plus C. So this just means that addition is associative. The next condition tells me about multiplication, saying that its operation is associative. So multiplication, associative. And what that just means is you can either first multiply AB and then multiply by C, or multiply the BC and then multiply by A. And you get the same answer. Then we have these two properties right here, which are about distribution. So here it's saying that multiplication is left distributive. So we're multiplying A on the left and how it distributes across the parentheses. And then the same thing over here, we have multiplication is right distributive. So we're multiplying C on the right and how either how it works with the addition of the two matrices. So here what we're doing is we're looking at how the operations of addition and matrix multiplication interact. The terms all down here, or the rest of the statements all really involve how does the two operations of addition and multiplication, matrix multiplication, interact with scalar multiplication. And there are no names over here, so I won't be writing anything else down. But it's just saying I can first add my two matrices together and then multiply by a scalar. It's the same thing as multiplying by scalars and then adding the resulting matrices together. And the rest of them are self-explanatory, so I'm not going to go into them into much more detail, but you should know that they're there. Okay. There's a couple of other facts that we want to bring or highlight here. The first is about the identity matrix, which is this IM. And the first fact is that if A is an M by M matrix, then if we multiply on the left by the identity matrix, we get A. And if we multiply on the right by IN, we also get A. Now the difference in size is just to make sure that the matrix multiplication is defined. And what you should be taking away here is that IN acts like the number 1 in terms of matrices, because this is a property that the number 1 has. 1 times any number gives you back that number you started with. The second fact is telling us something about the zero matrix. So this here is the zero matrix of the right size. And what it's saying is if you take a matrix A and you add a zero matrix of the correct size, then you get back the matrix A. Right? So one way to think about what's going on here is that the zero matrix behaves like the zero that you're used to, right? And here we have a little comic here about the identity matrix. You can read that in your own time. Hopefully you'll find that funny. And the takeaway here, though, is that when you're dealing with matrices, there's a whole bunch of properties that it has about scalar multiplication and addition and matrix multiplication. And many of these properties look very familiar. Okay, these are properties that you seem to see when you look at the integers. And so this is the usual notation for the integers, Z, or the real numbers, which is a notation we've been using quite a bit. So it looks like these operations, the arithmetic of matrices, it's really just like the arithmetic of the integers and the real numbers. But here highlighted in red, and I really want to emphasize that, so maybe let me put a couple more underlines here about how important this is that there are three properties of the integers and the real numbers that actually do not hold for matrices. So you can't just use what you know about real numbers and integers and just apply them to matrices. So let me give you three examples of properties that you're used to with respect to the integers that do not hold for matrices. Okay, so here's a property that you're used to. In Z and R, so in the integers and the real numbers, it's always true that the order in which you multiply two things is always equal. So multiplication is always commutative. However, this fails for matrices. You do not actually have this property. Okay, so as an example, I can take my matrix A to be 1, 0, 2, 1, my matrix B to be 1, 2, 0, 3, and I can actually multiply A times B, and if I multiply A times B, I would end up with 1, 2, 2, 4. And if I look at B times A, notice that I can actually define multiplication on both sides because they're square matrices. I would get 5, 2, 6, 3. Okay, so you see that these two things are not equal. So I want to highlight here is that order matters when you're talking about matrix multiplication. Do not change the order of your matrices in which you're multiplying. If you change the order, you may mess up your answer. So that's one major difference between the integers and the real numbers and matrix multiplication. The other property that you're used to using with the integers and the real numbers is the cancellation law. Now, maybe you're not used to knowing the name, but you're used to the property, right? Which is as follows. So in Z and the real numbers, if A times B is equal to AC and A does not equal to 0, then you can cancel off the A to say that B is equal to C. Okay, but again, this is something that may fail for matrices. May fail for matrices. And here's my example of that. I'll take my matrix A to be 1, 0, 0, 0. I'll take my matrix B to be 1, 1, 2, 2. I'll take my matrix C to be 1, 1, negative 2, negative 2. But then I have that AB is equal to 1, 1, 0, 0, which is equal to AC. So I have AB is equal to AC, but B does not equal to C. And A does not equal to Z. So I can't just because A times B is equal to A times C, I can't cancel off the A to say that B is equal to C, which is something that you're used to using with the cancellation law in the integers and the real numbers. And finally, there's another property that you're used to using, and you probably use it all the time in calculus, which is the fact that if two things multiply to 0, one of them have to be 0. All right, so in the integers and the real numbers, if A times B equals 0, then A equals 0 or B equals 0. That's something you're used to using all the time. But this is a property that may fail for matrices. May fail for matrices. And let me give you an example of that. Here we have a matrix 1, 0, 0, 0, and we take the matrix B to be the matrix with all zeros, but we have a 1 in the bottom right-hand corner. So these guys are not 0. And you could check, and it's a good way to check to see if you understand matrix multiplication, that when you multiply these two matrices together, you get 0 times 0, but A doesn't equal the 0 matrix and B does not equal the zero matrix. So in the integers and the real numbers, you can't have two non-zero things multiply to give you zero. But with matrices, you can have two matrices that are not zero, and when you multiply them, you get zero. So there's been a lot of things that we've learned today in today's lecture, but the key idea is we've learned about what a matrix is, and we've learned operations on the matrices. We've learned about the transpose, we've learned about the sum of matrices, we've learned about scalar multiplication, and we've learned about multiplication of matrices. It's very important that you master all of these operations because we will be using them throughout the rest of this course. Okay, that's it for lecture 11. In lecture 12, we'll continue to look at matrices and some of their properties. Have a great day.